Hello everyone, this is Athar Mansoor from TRACS. Welcome back to the World Affairs series. Through this video, I am going to analyze for you an extremely volatile political situation in one of the most industrialized countries of the world, and that is Japan. Before I go into the depth of what is happening in Japan in terms of politics, I would request you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. There is a playlist, World Affairs by TRACS, and you are going to find at least 19 to 20 videos on international affairs, and these may be of value to you in terms of enhancing your knowledge. So what is happening in Japan? PM Ishiba has announced his resignation just 12 months, less than 12 months into his office. And this has happened after two crushing election losses in the midterm elections. So precisely, he resigned on 7th of September 2025, just one day before the opponents in his Liberal Democratic Party were expected to vote him out. This resignation has triggered another ruling party leadership contest, and this is the third in the last 5 years. So the future prime minister faces a daunting situation. There are a number of challenges which he or she needs to tackle. The first one is to balance fraught relationship with US. The second one is the rising inflation. Japanese are not used to increasing inflation, or inflation in fact disturbs them even if it is in a small percentage or amount. The third one is the cost of living crisis. And finally, the government has lost its majority in both the houses. So the new PM would try to reverse this, and this would be one of his priorities also. So what are the factors which led to Ishiba's resignation? I have to go into a little bit history here. In 2020, Suga became the prime minister after surprisingly Shinzo Abe, the late Shinzo Abe, who was assassinated, resigned and stepped down. And Suga just remained prime minister for only 1 year because he had to resign due to plummeting polls, and he was replaced by Fumio Kishida, who went on to win the elections late in 2021. However, Kishida's popularity also went down due to a corruption scandal involving the LDP, or the Liberal Democratic Party. And besides that, there were, as I have mentioned, increasing living costs, and the yen was weakening continuously. In 2024, Kishida was replaced by Ishiba. Ishiba, as soon as he came to power, announced snap elections because he wanted the people to judge the new administration. And the people gave their verdict. The ruling party just secured 215 seats, whereas the threshold for majority was 233, whereas the opposition parties secured 235 seats. The electorate were in fact furious over the corruption scandal that implicated senior members of the Liberal Democratic Party, and they were also struggling with increasing inflation and cost of living. As I have mentioned earlier, Japanese are not used to rising costs of living and inflation, so they really feel disturbed. This result of 215 versus 235 was the worst result in over a decade for the LDP, and it also lost its single party majority in the lower house. In 2025, it suffered another blow in the upper house parliamentary election, where it also lost its majority. Anyways, Ishiba initially resisted calls to step down after this result, and he said that he had to take responsibility for LDP's losses, and moreover, he had to deal with a trade deal with the US. However, on Sunday, 7th September 2025, in order to avoid public humiliation, and before an internal leadership vote, that could have forced him out, he eventually resigned. So who are the next leaders in the race and who can be the next leader of Japan? So the LDP vote is expected in early October next month, and the winner of this vote is almost certain to become the new Prime Minister of Japan. No one has announced intention to run, but there are three major possible contenders. First is Shinjiro Koizumi. He is the agricultural minister and son of a popular former Prime Minister of Japan. Second one is Hoshimasa Hayashi. He is currently the chief cabinet secretary. And the final is the lady Sanai Takaichi, who would be Japan's first female prime minister if she won. All three had come up against Ishiba in the previous presidential race in 2024. However, Takaichi was the strongest candidate in the first round of votes, but she finally could not beat Ishiba. She is 64 years old and is a hardline conservative and known to oppose same-sex marriage. Her positions on women's issues are perfectly aligned with the LDP's policy of having women serve in traditional roles. Second, 44-year-old Koizumi is the son of Junichiro Koizumi, who was very popular as prime minister from 2001 to 2006. He is an extremely media-friendly person and a popular person online and is known for posting cat photos. Third one is 64-year-old Hayashi, who is acting as government's top spokesperson and is the chief cabinet secretary. So there are extreme set of candidates right now. One is very conservative. The other one is sort of untested politician and kind of a little bit immature in comparison to others. And the third one is not so flamboyant, but well experienced and tested, and that is Hayashi. Other names that have been floated include former Foreign Minister Motegi and former Economic Security Minister Kobayashi. So what are going to be the main challenges or the major challenges for the next leader? The first one is to bring together a weakened party, LDP, and voters who have left LDP. Japan is witnessing a drift towards the far right or conservative approach is just propping up in Japan. Nationalist Senseto emerged as one of the biggest winners of Japan's recent upper house parliamentary election, and majority of Senseto's voters were conservative. Ishiba was considered not conservative enough by many supporters of Shinzo Abe, and they are of the view that he doesn't have the nationalistic views on history and he doesn't have that strong views against China, which Abe had. So Senseto has become popular because of these factors. Senseto getting more votes shows the frustration of voters against LDP or with LDP. So the biggest task for the next leader of the LDP would be to bring back those frustrated voters who have left LDP in favor of Senseto. Also, he or she has to, as I mentioned earlier, and at the cost of repetition, is he or she has to tackle rising cost of living crisis amid a fragile yen. So as I mentioned, Japanese are not used to inflation. So even a small amount is disturbing. So ordinary voters feel that Japan is becoming poorer because cost of living is going up, whereas the wages are not rising enough. And yen is weakening, and that is why when they travel abroad, they find everything very expensive. New PM will also have to navigate the country's tricky relationship with neighbors. Recently, China celebrated Victory Day, which marked 80 years of its victory against Japan at the end of World War II. And this event was specially attended by Kim Jong-un of North Korea and Vladimir Putin of Russia. So this has, in fact, become a big challenge for the new prime minister who is going to assume the office in Japan, because the endurance of Tokyo, Washington, and Seoul trilateral cooperation would need to be watched very carefully after Xi, Putin, and Kim displayed their solidarity at the Victory Day parade. So even Japan's relationship with its long-term ally US can get tense. Why? Because Trump had earlier this year demanded that Japan pay more for stationing American troops there. Viewers, there is a bit of despair in the public among the Japanese right now. They do not have too much hope, and they think that the new leader or the new prime minister might not make any major difference in terms of governance and in terms of running the government. And it's going to be a same old story with a different LDP leader. So finally, a country democratically evolved, highly industrialized, one of the most sophisticated, industrial landscape, and one of the most developed countries. And why politically it is in turmoil? In fact, you would be surprised to know that over the last 2 decades, Japan has seen more than 10 prime ministers. So it's on average, a prime minister stays there for around 2 years. Why is it? The main reason, or partly I can say, it is being one party democracy. It's one of the major reasons. And because of that, the political competition comes from within the party rather than from any external rivals or competitors. And there is always vicious struggle within different factions in the Liberal Democratic Party, which is the major party. And every faction wants to get powerful position of the prime minister. So even if you are the prime minister, there are several people maneuvering to try to get you out again. And so, viewers, I think as attention now turns to Ishiba's replacement, many are waiting to see if the new leader or the next leader can break Japan's cycle of short-lived prime ministers. So thank you so much for watching this video on political turmoil in Japan. As requested earlier, please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more. Join TRACS.